Hey everybody, I'm Dave with Growing the Home Garden. Today I wanted to give you an update on my Russian sage cuttings that I took a couple of weeks ago. I did a video on that and just showed you how I do propagation of Russian sage. Now before we get started, I want you to know I have not actually looked at these, so I don't know if they're actually rooted well or not. I'm just going to take a chance and guess that they are. There's some of them that I've lost. The cuttings didn't make it, and I pulled some of those out. I actually have a couple others here that did not make it either. And you're going to have some when you do propagation that just don't do it. But look at this. Even that one that doesn't look so good started to develop roots. So that's interesting. You know, I wonder if I pot that up, if it would actually survive. That would be a curious thing. So I'm going to check this other one here, which is not so great either. And that one has no roots on it. So we're going to get rid of it. And then this one here, which is questionable. And it does not have roots. But I've got some other healthy looking plants right here that probably do. So I'm going to carefully just kind of squeeze around the edges of the pot. And I'm actually going to just dump it on its side and gently pull these things out and see what kind of roots we got. There's one with some roots. That one's got some pretty good looking little roots on it. And we got this other one that doesn't look so wonderful, but it actually does have roots in it too. Look at that, that's pretty good. Now this was in the seed starting mixture, if you're curious about the potting medium for it. And it's just the basic stuff that you buy at the store. It's typically made with like peat and vermiculite, just a combination of things like that. And you can use that for plant propagation if you want to. But I'm gonna notice this, the sand option, they look much better, they look much healthier, and it doesn't look like I've lost very many of those. So let's take a look and see what happened with the ones in the sand. So I'm going to kind of do the same thing here, and then I'm going to gently tease them out. And we got some roots on that one. And this one is a little tougher, so I'm going to just dump the whole thing out because I don't want to actually pull on the roots too much, because I'm afraid I could pull some roots completely out. That one's got a good little clump of roots right there. That one does too. There's another. These aren't so great, but there's some roots on it. So you see you get a little bit of variety in your success on your cuttings. So sometimes you have to make some adjustments. And in this case, with this batch of Russian sage cuttings, things got really hot in the greenhouse. And so I took them out of the greenhouse. And in addition to that, I had a cloche on it that I made out of a plastic bottle. And what I ended up having to do was to remove those because they were starting to get some fungal growth. They were just staying too moist and I didn't have enough airflow. So I sprayed them down with some neem oil and then just put them out underneath a shady tree, the one right behind me in fact. And at that point, they all started to bounce back and look much healthier and turn into nice little cuttings like this. So the next step, and I focused the camera over here on this tray, is I've put together these small little pots and I'm just going to pot them up into there using my hands. I'm just going to kind of stick my finger in there and cover them up. And I'll do that for each one of these as I go to try to grow them on. This one I'm got a little concern about this top growth part. I'm going to pinch off the very top of it real carefully because it's got this dried leaf up there which I'm not sure is going to make it no matter what. So we'll see if it'll regenerate something. I can't remember how many cuttings I started with, but if I get 7 out of this batch, that's going to be great. And this one looks really good. So I'm just poking a hole in and stick it in. So we'll do that for all of these. And before too long, they will grow into full-size plants and begin blooming and attracting all kinds of pollinators to the area. Russian sage is not bothered by deer or rabbits. So here I've got 7 happy cuttings and one that might make it. We'll see on that one. But I'm really happy with this overall. That's probably a good result for what we had going. If I were to do this again right now, where it's nice and hot now in the summertime, I'd be doing it under the tree to start from. In the springtime, early enough, it's fine to do it in the greenhouse where the temperatures are not getting too bad and it keeps the humidity high enough. But you got to make sure you have a good, adequate airflow, because otherwise you'll end up getting some sort of fungal diseases like I did with this batch. And it can happen to any plant that you do if the environment is just not correct for it. So a couple observations on these cuttings. The Russian sage cuttings that were in the sand performed much better than the ones that were in the seed starting mix. And I think a lot of that has to do with a better drainage system that's in the sand as opposed to what's in the peat. I think the peat-based seed starting mix retained too much moisture and helped to create a more humid environment, which wasn't as good for the plants. So they both were successful in some ways. I would use either one of them if I had them around, but I would prefer to stick with the sand mixture. I think that's just a better system that's going to have more success overall. So I'm not unhappy with what has happened here. I think the results are pretty good. You're always going to lose a few cuttings here and there when you do it. That's why you take more than you actually need. And then if you have extra, you give them to friends, sell them at a farmer's market. You know, there's lots of options for it. So after I've got these all transplanted, of course, I've got to water them, and I'm going to keep them in these pots until they grow on a little bit stronger. I'm going to keep them in the shade for a few days, and then I'll start moving them out to the sunlight gradually, just get them acclimated to the sunshine. And I'll also probably follow up with a fertilizer with good nitrogen in it. They really want to spur some leaf growth, get them ready so that, who knows, maybe they'll bloom by the end of the summer. So of course, after getting those potted up, I had to take some more. So here we've got another 9 cuttings of Russian sage. So thanks for stopping by and watching this video on the result of my plant propagation with Russian sage. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments, and I'd love to invite you along to subscribe to Growing the Home Garden on YouTube. I really hope to get into a lot more stuff this summer with plant propagation and vegetable gardening and all kinds of different things that I do in my garden. So again, thanks for watching.